WePodcast.com is where you can find more content from We Studios. The We Podcast and the We Studios. It's not a coincidence.
It's
they're
not.
completely direct links to.
I thought we got the website, and then we were like,
just
"What?
built
We should just
everything
call
around it."
Yeah. What could WEE be? Worst episode ever.
That's
and
what
also 90s Percentile for some reason.
That's how the Ask Jeeves people did it.
That's true.
It was literally the only domain name they could afford.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know, some kind of
kind of
search butler service.
E-Butler? Does the internet have an E-Butler yet?
Well, there was eButler was already taken, but they actually are just a shoe company.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
So, guys, WePodcast.com for all of our previous episodes. You can get everything we're doing there. Sync points, worst episode ever of the podcast, more 90s Percentile. Everything is there. So check it out.
And check out our YouTube page, We Studios.
There's a link to it on WePodcast.com. So you can just go there. It's a one-stop shop for everything. And now it's time for the episode.
Except for cable porn.
Oh. 60 minutes are on the clock, and straight out of We Studios, this is 90s Percentile. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack, and we're talking everything 90s and maybe also everything before and after.
And we've got a guest in studio here. We were just saying off air that he is our first three-peater. 3 times he has been on this podcast.
That's once,
That's
twice,
three
times
times.
Harry.
Harry Nelson, our guest here.
It's me, guys. Hello. How are you all?
We're okay.
We're good.
Than's for having me as your first three-peat guest.
Absolutely.
On your podcast.
First third, or
This is
lower
the first third. We're going to do 120 episodes, right? Is that 40 times 3?
That should cover the 8,000 topics we have.
I think
in
we'll
the 90s.
cover the entirety of 1990 to 1999. Harry, thank you so much for being here. If listeners are unfamiliar with you, which seems impossible,
Well,
at this
because you've
point.
been on this show so many times.
You've been on this show a number of times. Where would they know you from?
I have my own podcast, which you guys
Ooh.
have been nice enough to
Yeah,
guest on.
only
couple of
twice
times.
though.
Yeah, well now I have to have you back a third.
Yeah,
just so
I mean,
that we're even.
I thought we were
That's
all in the Three Timers Club.
called Harry Says Yes. It's available on iTunes and all of your various podcasting applications. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun over there.
Yeah. It's not one of those bleak comedy podcasts.
No.
Like this one. We're going to get through another 90s topic.
Our first topic: welfare.
Oh, God. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Harry.
Come on.
Now, we can get right into things. I feel like lately we've not gotten right into things. We've been a little loopier.
Well, Harry didn't really bring us anything to eat. So,
That's true.
That's the
I don't.
thing.
Maybe he didn't get the memo that you're supposed to bring us cannolis or cupcakes.
Some kind of baked goods
Yeah,
and or bologna
We're trying to get
sandwiches.
diabetes by the end of the year, so we need those sugary snacks.
We
Sorry,
figured it
guys.
was since you were our first three-peat guest, maybe you'd bring something special like
Yeah.
caviar,
Triple stuffed Oreos.
Yeah.
those burgers with gold flakes on them.
Yeah.
You ever had one of those?
No, I can't
What's
say.
the
I have.
most expensive? What's the most expensive burger
Meal
you've
I've-
ever had?
Expensive burger?
Burger, I'm
I
talking
can
birds.
talk burger very easily because there's a place that just opened in Bay Ridge. And it was just like, it's a burger place. You know, you pick your toppings and you make your own customized burger.
Yeah,
You know,
which place?
Burger something.
Ooh, good name.
Burger something.
But
All
anyway,
right.
it cost me $17 for my hamburger.
that is
Really?
And it wasn't any bigger than a typical like Five Guys.
That's a pricey burger.
It was
Is it
very
a tasty
pricey.
one?
It was okay. I had pineapple on mine, but that's not why.
That's probably like $5
But
right
no,
there.
that's not. You
They have to import that
You
from
pick
Hawaii.
your own topping. So my girlfriend and our friend, who we all ordered burgers, they got like normal toppings, and it was all pretty much. It's like $18 a burger.
That's very expensive.
That might be the most expensive burger I've had.
Five Guys in general is expensive, but it's very good. Have you guys ever been to Minetta Tavern? It's like a restaurant
No,
in
I've
Minetta
heard
Street?
it. It's great.
Yeah, on Minetta Street. They have like a famous burger there, which I have had. I don't remember what makes it so good, but it was delicious. It's probably like a $30 burger or
Bone
something.
marrow.
Wow.
They do have bone marrow there. It's not a bone marrow burger.
How do you, that's a thing? Eating bone marrow?
Oh yeah.
Some people do it. I think it's
I
gross.
People love it.
I could see how.
It's like it's weird and
I mean,
salty.
it's all it is the lymph, right? It's like
yeah.
the juice inside the bone. It's just like lymph.
I don't know that there's any nutritional value to it. I think it's
What's
just
the taste? What do
taste.
they do? Fry it? Deep fry it?
I think they like spread it on stuff
Like butter?
like butter.
Like, can I get that?
Like
do you
butter.
do you want that with like ketchup, mustard,
Or
lymph?
bone marrow. Yeah. Or the lymph nodes of a cow. Delicious. But we're not here to talk about burgers.
I want
Oh, we are
Harry,
here
to,
talk
I want
about
Harry to
burgers.
answer his question.
I thought we were agreed we weren't going to let Harry talk.
I'll do that on my own. I'll police myself. I think that probably about $15. I can't think of a specific one that I've had that's been crazy. I've never had like a big fan like the kind
Right.
with the gold flakes on it or
I mean,
Jack's-
I work
yeah,
in
bone
Wall
marrow
Street.
burgers.
There's definitely, I think one of the places that sells that famous like $2,500 burger with like actual gold on it is
Yeah.
right around the corner. I think it's next to the McDonald's that we used to always go to when we wait
Yep,
for the Staten Island ferry. I think
remember.
it's right there that has the $2,500
If your
burger.
boss is ever like, I'm taking you guys to lunch, demand to be taken there and get the most expensive burger in existence. We could probably talk burgers all day, but this isn't Burger Cast. That comes out on Tuesdays. So, Harry,
Hey,
you're our guest.
what up?
And you've been our guest many times before, but things have changed since the last episode.
What?
Here in the Shark Tank. Is that what we're calling it?
I think so. I think Harry was our
Has that been used?
maybe our first.
I don't think there's anything else
No,
called
it
Shark
wasn't.
Tank.
Never
So
mind.
I was your first guest on this podcast, I think.
he was. Well, he was.
that aired.
That aired. Yes.
no,
he
I was going to also say I think you might have been the first guest after our test shows where we were still working out the kinks, but you weren't. I think Lanny was.
That could be true. But things have changed, Harry. You may know if you listen to the show. Please don't tell us if you do or not. We just like to assume you're a big fan. You can choose your first topic, or you can see that.
That
right.
was
I didn't mean to frighten you with my conjunction. You can choose to go into the random topic generator, which is topics submitted by listeners who go to wepodcast.com, wepodcast.com.
And also, we'd like to thank our guests, as always, for submitting the topics. Because we couldn't do this without you. We could have our guests always just pick their own topics.
Right.
But you guys are the lifeblood of the podcast. And I want to thank you all.
Yeah.
One by one at a time now.
All right, we got Daniel and Soul, common
and the
topic
rest.
submitter, and the rest.
Harry, come on. We got the clock
Yeah,
ticking.
the
here.
clock is going.
You guys have been.
I think Harry's probably a little jumpy because the
Goodness
last time he
gracious.
was here, didn't we make him do some sort of VR live on the air?
You strapped a VR headset on
horror
my face.
VR.
yeah,
Yeah.
we strapped him into horror VR.
That was fun.
and-
That was fun times.
Yeah.
Maybe not for him, but
But no, seriously, we have 54. We already went
Okay.
through 6 minutes.
My topic.
Did you like the VR?
No.
Have you tried it since?
Yeah.
Did you tell people, hey, I did VR on this podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
I went to Best Buy and put on one of those Oculus Rifts.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
How is it legitimately? I'm not even.
It's way better than a phone.
I hear
strapped
the
to your face.
PlayStation
Cool.
VR
That's
is
awesome.
the best
Yeah.
one on the market right now, which is the one I'm going to be getting. Even though there's a very good chance it'll be a waste of money because my living room is too small for the specs. But I'm kind of hoping I can still
you need
somehow.
a lot of space. I mean,
I don't know why you need space though. It's not like a Kinect. You should be able to just. It's the whole point of VR is that you should be able to like just sit still and have the whole world there.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I hear the Vive is cool. That you need like a whole room for that, but you can like walk around.
That's what
and
the
do stuff.
PlayStation
Oh,
is.
that's
That's
pretty
why my room is not big enough. You put cameras, sensors in the corners of your room.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
Maps it and turns your room into a
That's crazy.
Star Trek type of
Into a
imaging
holodeck.
chamber. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we're not here to talk about VR, although
come on.
it will almost certainly come up at some point. Harry, you got a topic? It seems like. What do you got?
I'm gonna go to since it is the scariest season. I'm gonna choose.
The election season.
Getting political.
I'm gonna choose Scream.
Scream.
The film Scream. Have you guys talked about Scream yet?
We have not talked about Scream
we
yet.
had Screamcast on our last. We did a live episode of Worst Episode Ever last week, and we talked about Munch's Scream
We did talk about the Edward Munch painting.
and
The
we
Scream.
talked about we talked about several Scream movies, but very briefly on
but
our
not
Simpsons
in
podcast.
depth, and not in our 90s podcast where it would make more sense. So let's talk about Scream. I believe
Scream.
it came out in 1996, directed by Wes Craven.
Yeah, the Crave Meister.
and written
Crave-
by
the Crave Man.
I think it might have been
no longer with us.
The might have been his big break movie. Kevin Williamson,
Kevin Williamson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
who I always
Who
thought.
also did Dawson's Creek. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
His shtick is basically doing a teen melodrama.
Whoa.
I always
Dawson's
pictured
Creek. I
him.
liked that.
I always thought he was a black man because I was getting him confused with.
The voice actor.
Yeah,
Kevin Michael Richardson. Is that his name? Or am I
Something-
just thinking Michael Richards?
the
It's
dude-
Kramer.
well,
dude
he's not
from,
black.
No,
Michael
he's
Richards is not black.
He's not.
With the where death kills you no matter what.
Final
Final
Destination?
Destination.
Yeah,
That's
was he in that?
Tony Todd, I think
Tony
you're thinking
Todd.
of.
Who
No,
was he? Who
okay,
was
he did
he?
the voice of the Joker in the Batman series, not animated series, but the other animated Batman series, The Batman.
Yeah.
He does a lot of Simpsons voices now in the post-classic era.
It is Kevin Michael Richardson. Yeah.
So
That's his name.
that's who I was picturing, and then I saw Kevin Williams, and he's like a really creepy looking. He kind of looks like William Sadler a little bit, but
A little bit.
yeah. No, I was surprised that wasn't who I had in my head writing these Scream movies.
Yeah, so let's just real quick, if you somehow are unfamiliar with Scream, and we're just talking about the first one, Harry. Is that
I believe that is the only one that came. Well, did Scream 2 come
Scream
out in the
2
90s?
Scream
Scream
2
2 did
probably
come out in the
98 or
90s,
99.
because Scream 3 came out in 2000.
Yeah. So Scream, it was a horror movie, a slasher movie that kind of was meta. That was kind of the thing that people knew it for. It was a horror movie about horror movies.
I was going to say it was the first postmodern, first like 90s type of horror movie, but it wasn't.
And
Wes
not
Craven's
really,
New Nightmare.
New Nightmare right before the movie that Wes Craven did right before this
I love
one.
that Wes Craven kind of ushered in the modern era of horror with in the 80s with Nightmare on Elm Street and the people, not the people in the stairs. He did that, but the Hills.
The Hills
That Have Eyes. And then he also ushered in the postmodern era. Like he was he deconstructed the genre he built.
Yeah, Wes Craven was fantastic. I mean, he's no longer with us. He died, I think, 2 years ago at this point.
About a year, I think.
How decomposed is his body?
We'll have to go to his Wikipedia page and find out. But Scream, do you guys like Scream?
I really like Scream. It's one of my mother growing up really loved horror films, and she would just show. I would watch them with her. And it was fine. I guess. I mean, who's to say? But like Freddy Krueger really terrified me as a kid. But Scream, even though it was like home invasion, like it could really happen. It was like I always thought of it more as a comedy than a horror film. It was kind of a funny movie.
It's got a lot of comic relief.
There's definitely a lot of comedy.
That's part of the meta.
You've got Jamie Kennedy. You've got what's his face, Shaggy from the live action Scooby-Doo. Yep, Matthew Lillard.
It's funny that they have two comic relief characters.
Spoilers. One of them was the killer. Yeah,
but that's irrelevant. It is really interesting that they're basically playing the same kind of role in that.
Jamie Kennedy, I guess, was the
film nerd.
The film nerd who's also the viewer at home. And Matthew Lillard, I guess, was just a nut job.
Right. But they could easily have combined that, which they did, spoilers, in Scream 4. But that's a character type that could easily have just been one character.
I'll be honest, I saw Scream 4. I don't remember a fucking second of it.
Same, yeah.
I liked it.
I never saw Scream 3, but...
Scream 2 was pretty good. Jay and Silent Bob are in it.
It's a consistent
I knew
series.
that, but I haven't seen it.
It's consistently... very good series. Every movie is watchable and competent.
Yeah.
I think Wes Craven did all 4 too, right?
He definitely did the 4th one.
I think
I don't know if he did 2 and 3. I could check, but Scream. I'm a fan of Scream. I haven't seen it in a while. I actually would like to revisit it, but it was kind of unique. Slasher movies, you think of Friday the 13th, or at least I do, Friday the 13th or like Nightmare on Elm Street, which are both kind of supernaturally, not the first Friday the 13th, but they got there. Scream was, like you said, it's something that could happen. Like it was just people killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although it's funny that Ghostface has kind of become a horror icon in the same way Mike Myers, Jason, and Freddy has, even though they've all been different people.
Right.
To the point where it was a big deal when they made Scream the TV series and
which I have not
recast
seen.
Ghostface with a different type of mask villain.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because if there's one thing that makes a Scream movie, if you're going to take out Neve Campbell's lead character, who's in all 4 movies, is the protagonist of all 4 movies, if you're going to take her out, what is left of the Scream formula? I would think the Ghostface would be a big part of it, but they didn't.
I have actually seen every episode of the MTV Scream series.
Really?
Is it any good? Because I've
we're
been
getting ahead
curious.
of ourselves.
I've been
But
curious
what
about
is it
watching
about? What is it?
It's not great, but it's fun. It's like a small town. There's a girl who like her family has a weird past, and as a result, people are trying to kill her.
Yeah.
How many people have to die in this small town every week to week, before everybody just moves
it's
to the next town?
It's tough to do an ongoing series that's like a slasher series.
Yeah. I remember Kevin Williamson actually did that show The Following or whatever with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
And that was like hard to keep going because it's like a cult of serial killers.
Right.
There was also a experimental TV show that it wasn't bad. It was 13 episodes and it got canceled and they never did a season 2, where it was a slasher movie spread out over 13 episodes. I can't remember the name of it.
Was
but
it The Cult? Was it on the CW?
No, it took place on an island. It was like a wedding on an island and...
Harper's Island?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was basically a
that.
slasher. It was a slasher film where everybody's getting killed off. Who's the killer? Except over 13 episodes, and the formula was surprisingly worked well for a self-contained season.
Right. Interesting.
One thing I like about the Scream TV series is that the nerdy character, like the film buff, has a podcast about the goings on in the Scream town.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Very
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
So my Scream story, the way I first saw it, I have a very vivid remember of being in my 7th grade, I want to say art class, where we all, because it was one of the classes where we all sat around like a big wooden table, like the New York City public school system. There was like 35 kids per class.
Yeah.
And we were split up in pretty much 3 main groups. And the biggest crush of my life at the time and for a while,
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. No, she was sitting across from me, and I remember all the cool kids were talking about Scream 2 was coming out in theaters, and there were Scream 2 commercials on TV everywhere. And they were talking about Scream, and they're like, who their favorite character from Scream is. And it was all going over my head. I had no idea what they were talking about. And it was just like, we were 13 at the time. Said this was 7th grade. So Scream was like the cool movie to like. At the time, me being a Star Wars nerd, the fact that I liked Star Wars made me a nerd.
Right,
Like,
of
it
course.
wasn't cool to be a nerd yet.
Yeah.
So like me liking Star Wars, uncool. The cool movie to, you had to have a JanSport backpack. And you had to have been, you had to like Scream.
Right. It was a crazy time in the 90s.
So I remember that. And Scream 2 was coming out, and it looked really cool. So my mom rented Scream 1 on VHS, and me, my sister, and my best friend, and my mom, we all watched Scream like on a Saturday afternoon. And my friend, I call him my friend. He was such an asshole.
Is this me? You talking about me, Jack?
He always liked to spoil movies, and he had already seen Scream, and he was like spoiling, like, "Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that." And he was,
Oh,
and it was, he was really pissing me off. I also knew certain characters were going to live because I had seen all the Scream. Scream 2 was in theaters at the time.
Right.
So we had seen Scream. So I knew Jamie Kennedy was going to live.
Right. Nev Campbell's not going
So
anywhere.
yeah, that took kind of some of the tension out. But
Sure.
I was surprised at the twist, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah.
But then I remember that was like the next week, my mom took me and my sister to see Scream 2, which my mom's a great movie buff. She really has like helped me form my pop culture. But now that I think about it, we were kind of young to be seeing these Scream movies, especially my sister.
Yeah, I was going to say
who
your
was
sister's
3 years
younger than
younger. Yeah. But I remember in the middle of Scream 2, spoilers for Scream 2, somebody just popped their head in the movie theater. Some teenager goes, "It's the killer's Mickey." And then,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
I know. So that was 2 back-to-back movies I had the killer.
That's terrible.
And then Scream 3, I didn't have spoiled for me. I also rented that on Blockbuster.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a lackluster twist ending.
So,
So,
Harry, who's the killer in Scream the series? Can you just tell all of us in our listeners?
Do you want to know?
No, I really
Is-
don't.
is there-
I
is
might
there-
actually watch it.
is there a single killer? Is it like basically
well,
like
that's
the movie?
that's a spoiler, Jack.
I mean,
in and of itself.
there are killers.
Is there one? I was gonna say, is it one storyline or is there like multiple
No,
things
it's
going on?
one. I mean, pretty much one storyline.
I would do
Each
like
season's not a new story, right? It's
No,
like
same
ongoing.
people.
So it's
I
not like
would-
American Horror
there's
Story.
but there's like some back. There's like remember back when there's like a parents and then there's kids.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like the parents have like a weird backstory that informs what's
That'd be a
happening
good
to the
TV.
kids.
Freddy Nightmare on Elm Street could be a good TV show in that vein.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Scream came out December 1996. I remember it being a summer
Yeah.
movie, but I guess it
Scream
wasn't.
2 came right out.
Scream
right?
2 came out December 1997.
Yeah,
like
wow.
immediately
Yeah.
right after it.
Yeah, it was a big because it was
Which is surprising because
big hit.
Scream 2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
I only saw it maybe once, maybe twice, but I remember it being a decent movie.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
The first 2 Scream movies, especially the second one, but I'd say both the first 2, they were in the thing I bring up all the time, my mom's VHS collection
Of
of,
course.
movies that I watched over and over and over.
Yeah.
And the first 2 Scream movies were in my late junior high school pantheon, where I probably watched them, every other week or so.
Yeah, and I'd say because they made Scream 4 and now Scream the series, it's pretty well regarded still. Like something like Saw maybe doesn't hold up quite
Yeah.
as well.
Did it ever?
People really liked Saw.
When I saw I've only seen the
first one
first
was
Saw.
fine.
I
First one was fine.
hated it. I saw it with some friends
I
in the
didn't
theater,
love it.
and we all collectively were like, we just got into this mindset. 20 minutes into the movie, we were like, "This is bad."
Yeah.
So now we couldn't enjoy any of it because now we're just hate watching it.
Right.
And to this day, I have like a real lack of it.
You should probably see Saw 2. You'd probably have the same exact reaction.
Well, then.
But Saw 2, there's some fun, weird twists in Saw 2 that I think you might appreciate. But
Yes.
it's
but
also
no,
got Donnie Wahlberg. Does that sell it for you?
No, but no, like Scream 2, I think has especially a bad rap for the movies.
Really?
But these bad raps these Scream movies have are relative to other movies. Yeah, no, it's kind of like the worst review, the worst criticism these Scream movies get is like, it's not great, but it gets the job done. Which is compared to most movies, that's a good review.
Well, I think the thing with Scream is, Scream did a lot of things really well, but the one thing that we kind of mentioned was the whole meta aspect of it. You have Jamie Kennedy is like a horror film guy, and he like knows the tropes and realizes, oh, we're in a horror movie. This is what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and like kind of explains all the rules.
Don't say, "I'll be right back."
Right. And then someone says, "I'll be right back." They get killed. And then the sequel, they do the same thing, like, oh, this is how horror sequels happen. And then where do you go from there?
The third one.
I didn't see the third one.
The third one is what happens in the third movie of a trilogy.
But I thought the third one was not well regarded. I thought the second one was actually pretty well regarded.
From what I understand, no, there was considered diminishing returns. Each one was less good.
Well, yeah.
Although the fourth one was considered. But the third one, again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The third one didn't get great reviews, like the movie franchise getting old.
Yeah.
But
Right,
it's still competently done, and the scenes are fine. Like it's
Right.
it's getting that but, which a lot of movies, like the Saw movies, don't get a but. And Saws get, oh, this movie sucks.
I don't know. There were some
period.
butts in some Saw movies, but the Scream movie, it's the whole thing is teenage slasher. That's the conceit in the first movie. You're just doing the same thing over and over again in Scream 2, 3, and 4. Like it's just the same. Like someone's killing people, and we got to figure out who it is, and he's wearing a ghost face mask.
No, I mean that's most movies.
Yeah, I mean,
most movies follow a formula.
I mean, a lot of sequels are just repetitive.
What's
of the first
interesting is all 4 Scream movies, and I'm pretty curious about the TV show, is they do tweak the meta about making it specifically about this entry. It's never just about horror in general. The second one is about what happens in a sequel. The third one is this isn't a sequel. Now we're talking entries in a trilogy.
Right.
What happens in part 3? The fourth one is, all right, this is a kind of a soft reboot. What happens in soft reboots?
Yeah.
Does the TV show have something like that? Like, all right, this is a TV show.
Yeah, TV shows like, oh, we're in a high school TV show. There's jocks and there are cheerleaders, and like, who's the killer? We're all going to take more time to get to know the characters. They talk about all this
That's
stuff.
awesome.
I kind of want to. That's making me want to watch.
I'm
the
guessing
show.
that's because Ken Williamson must be a big part of it, right?
I don't think so.
No?
I think that's because they originally they were going to do it and it was going to be supernatural, but it was going to be called Scream, which everyone got really mad about, and then it was in development for a long time. I followed this for a while.
Was this the same guy
like
who
it.
wanted werewolves in the Lone Ranger?
So now it's very like straightforward. There's a girl. She's being chased by a person in a mask. There's a reason why the mask is different. Like they don't ever show the old mask.
Do they reference Ghostface? Do they reference? Does it take place in the same universe?
No, it's not the same universe at all.
Really?
Whole different thing.
Is it in a universe
I'm
where
pretty
Scream
curious
is a
about
movie?
the show now.
No.
That's very interesting. I wonder if they'll. Spoilers for the Exorcist TV show that's out right now.
I don't want to hear this.
Oh,
I haven't watched
no?
it yet.
You're gonna watch it?
I might.
Why?
I've heard
Who cares?
somewhat good things.
Well,
all right, fine. Spoil it.
Are you sure? It'll probably make it more interesting to you.
All right, then yeah, let's spoil
But it
it.
is a spoiler. Okay.
I mean,
I don't wanna hear
they've only aired like 3 or 4 episodes, right? So it's pretty early.
Spoilers for the Exorcist TV
All right.
show. They just revealed in this week's episode that one of the main characters, Gina Davis, is actually playing Linda Blair's character from the movie. So
Oh.
it's a direct sequel, but in all the promos and up until this point, they were just like, nah, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then it's like,
interesting.
hey, no, it's part of the movie. So I'm wondering if Scream might do that. The fact that they're not saying it's like they don't bring up Scream at all,
Yeah.
that could be a good twist. And like,
Yeah.
we need some ideas for season 3. Oh, Nev Campbell, here she is.
Yeah,
she turned
right,
out to
right.
be
That's
part
not
of
a terrible idea.
Cool.
One thing that the first Scream movie at least did really well and kind of became, I guess it became a thing for a little while. Drew Barrymore was like very, very much part of the marketing for this movie. She was on the poster. She was in all the commercials and all the trailers. She's only in the first scene of the movie. She gets killed. She's the first person who gets killed.
Yeah. And that's
that
key.
was big.
I think that was one of the reasons that was like hitting the ground running for the
Yeah.
for the momentum of Scream.
Because she was a star at that point.
well,
I mean, her maybe it was
This-
fading a little bit. It was pre-Charlie's Angels.
this was
but
like
post-ET.
this was her comeback role. This is what made her relevant again.
Yeah.
and it's funny is
guess
she
that's
was
true.
offered. Wes Craven knew her from when she was popular. She was nobody for the 90s. She had disappeared. She had done her drug thing.
Yeah,
this was
that's true.
her first sober role, which I think is also key. Her
Yes.
first to her renaissance.
I'm looking at a picture of her with Corey
But-
Feldman at the Academy Awards in 1989.
Yeah.
What an 80s
But
picture.
anyway, so she was offered the lead role. They're like, Drew, we want you to play the high school lead of whatever, Sydney.
Yeah.
And she said, no, I think I might be a little too old, even though she was 25, I think. B, I just don't want to commit to that. I like that first scene script. Can I do that? So that's why you have a big name in this tiny
Yeah.
role. But I think Wes Craven saw the
Potential there?
and kind of made it like a Hitchcock thing, like the
Yeah.
Psycho. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, they just killed off the main character in the first scene of the movie.
And it worked. I
And
think-
she's the face
I mean,
in the main poster.
Yeah, absolutely. She's screaming in the poster.
Which makes sense because you don't want the survivor's not going to scream. The survivor's going to go, yeah, I lived.
I want to see that movie. Yeah, I lived. That'll be a good one.
It's less exciting.
Yeah, so a lot of comedy in the Scream movie. We kind of mentioned that. There's at least a few comic relief characters. You said you watched it and you like thought it was a comedy. Like I
Did I
remember
say
it
that?
being. Didn't you?
I mean, no, I enjoyed the comedic aspects. They kept
Yeah.
me from being scared by the like.
Got it. Okay.
It's got a.
I haven't seen it in a while, but
like a
there's
fun
some
hangar
fairly
movie.
brutal murders in there.
I think that's just.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that's
Big
just
time,
more.
baby.
I think it's part of the meta and just part of '90s movies in general, where comic relief was just kind of becoming like it was the beginning of. All movies kind of just break down into this tone where it's
Sure.
serious, but it's also funny, and everybody's having a good time. You know, like the MCU movies.
Right.
I think that was just a general trope that was starting in the '90s because this definitely has more comic relief than Halloween or Jason. No, maybe not Freddy Krueger.
Not the later ones,
But
for sure.
yeah, it certainly makes it more palatable. I wonder if my mom would have taken me and my sister to see Scream 2 if Scream 1 was just like this dark, not Oliver Stone. Who's the other guy?
If it was just like Henry Portrait of a Serial
Brian
Killer.
if it was like a Brian De Palma
Yeah, right,
thriller,
right.
you know, she wouldn't take us to see that.
No, definitely not.
Also Dewey, we haven't mentioned. Dewey's also another comic
No, we
relief
haven't.
character.
Yeah. You got old David Arquette, WCW champion David Arquette. He's in there as
Henry
kind of the dopey
Winkler
cop.
is the principal.
Yes.
Before his kind of renaissance.
Yep.
Which was
the Winklesaunce.
which was mocked in Scary Movie, which I didn't like. But one
Right,
of the
it
funniest
was,
parts of Scary Movie is Principal Squiggy.
Right, Dave. What's the Squiggy's actual name? David
Squiggy.
something. Yeah.
But it was really funny that his name is Principal Squiggy, and it's Squiggy. That was a great like spoof of that. Scary Movie also was the original title for Scream.
Yeah.
Yes, I did know that.
Again, very meta.
Yeah, totally. And
Courtney Cox, one of the
Courtney?
biggest stars on the planet at the time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
She's in there as a reporter, whatever her name was.
Gail Weathers.
Gail Weathers. That was it.
The cameraman was
that was
W. Earl Brown, W. Earl something, who later was just like the best character on Deadwood, and he's been in a ton of other stuff since then.
Yeah, I mean, also Leif Schreiber was in there as like
that's
the almost killer.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Spoilers.
He's in one scene for about 10 seconds where she's watching.
Yeah, but that's like that's when I think of Leif Schreiber. You know, I've seen him in tons of things now, but that was like the first moment where I was like, "Who's this guy? This
Not
guy's
in
really
Scream
good."
1.
Yeah.
Scream 2 is where he kind of came
Oh
into
yeah,
his
maybe
own.
that's what I'm thinking
Scream,
of.
but
Scream 2.
Scream 1, he played the guy that's on death row for killing Nev Campbell's
Cotton Weary was
mother.
his
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
And it's really interesting that I guess he wasn't a big name at the time. He's still huge in theater and
He
Broadway.
wasn't. This was the role that made me be like, "Oh, I know who Leif Schreiber is.
Scream
He's
2.
that guy." I guess. Yeah.
Scream 2. You would know who he is in Scream 1. He's in it for 10 seconds. But it's
Right.
really interesting that they cast him. Like, did they know they were going to make him a bigger thing, or was it they just cast? He was just getting some money, and then they're doing Scream 2. They need ideas like, hey, this Leif Schreiber is actually a great actor. Let's
Yeah, right. That could
expand
be.
his role. Yeah, no. Scream 2 and Sphere were the 1-2 punch of me going, hey, I like this Leif Schreiber guy. Yeah,
Because Sphere was also 96, I think, or maybe 97.
it's up there.
It's up there, but that's not our topic. We don't have to talk about Sphere.
We will at some.
We
some
will
point.
because I have a weird soft spot for the movie Sphere, even though it's not very good.
I have a soft spot for the novel.
I love that the novel is very good and the movie's a mess. But anyway, let's talk about Scream a little bit more. What else we got to say about it?
Let's talk about Nev Campbell. What do we think?
Where's she
She's
been?
all right.
What's she up to these days?
She was in Scream 4.
She was in House of Cards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's in season 4 of House of Cards. She's pretty good in it.
She's fun. I mean, I guess she's not bad, but she's not. Was never my favorite part of Scream.
It's interesting that it kind of works for the role of her not having a personality, but I wonder if there was somebody who's had a more of a presence, if we would have been like, oh my God, can you imagine anybody else in this role?
Yeah. Ironically, Jamie Kennedy was probably my favorite part of Scream.
He was probably the big breakout star of
Yeah,
this movie.
and now like I can't stand Jamie Kennedy. Like,
yeah. It's-
Well, after he X'd you just.
I know I got
it's hard to-
X'd.
yeah.
well,
it's
he's
just
moved
terrible.
on now to the Tremors series. He's,
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's now the face of the series along with
He's
Michael Gross.
Mr. Ass
I
Blaster.
think he plays Michael Gross's like a long lost son.
That was going to be my topic before I thought of Scream was Tremors.
We still have to watch Tremors 4. I
do.
agreed to watch it with you a year ago, and I'm still waiting to watch it. Not
ink
Tremors
has-
4, Tremors 5.
The ink has dried on your pact to watch Tremors 5.
There's been
So
a
it's
couple
time to
times
go.
where I was like, I'm just going to fucking watch it without Harry.
Watch it, it's
I
fine.
know, but
I watched the first one a couple weeks ago.
great movie.
It's pretty good.
Great movie.
Rose McGowan also in Scream.
Yeah.
What do we think about Rose
I'm
McGowan?
going to see her. I'm going to meet her there in a few days.
You're gonna meet with her.
I'm going to meet her, not meet with her.
Wait, who is she? Who is she in Scream?
I don't know.
she's
but
the best friend.
listed. Yeah,
She's
there you go.
Nev Campbell's best friend. She gets stuck in the garage door.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Rose McGowan. I like her more than I like Nev Campbell.
I liked
for
her
sure.
then. I don't really know what she's been in. I haven't seen her in anything.
She was on a little show called Charmed.
No,
Ever
I-
heard of it?
No, I'm saying recently.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the last thing I saw her in was
Grindhouse.
Grindhouse,
Which was 9 years ago.
Planet Terror. Yeah.
Almost 10 years ago.
All right, now, well, Rose, we're all waiting for your glorious comeback.
Well, she's directing this movie. That's why I'm meeting her. Who's doing a screening at my school.
I know she was in the news the other day for something, but I don't remember.
She's
what it
very
was.
outspoken politically, I believe.
Yeah, but I don't remember what she said. But
I think I'm pretty sure it has to do with like rape culture and stuff, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She had like a thing where a director sent her like a. Was that her?
Oh, she might be one. Is she the one that's saying hey, basically, young women in Hollywood just get raped by the producers, and it's horrible.
Yeah, it was something like that. She wanted Hollywood to stop rewarding sexual assault and stop keeping it a secret.
Well, good for her.
Good.
Her movie looks very interesting too. I don't know if it'll be any. I don't know how competent she is as a director, but it's got like a female lead, and it just
she
seems
claims
really
she was
interesting.
raped, which is unfortunate, obviously.
Claims, Dan.
Well,
Blaming the victim, are we? You know those women. They just they don't know when to say no.
One thing or the other.
I don't want to touch the topic because there's no right answer.
I honestly don't know what I can say to get myself out of that. So let's move on. Do you have anything else?
You say she was raped. I believe her, and I'll take.
I do believe her.
I don't think she's
I've
making
always
it up
liked
for
Rose
attention,
McGowan.
or because she's a crazy person who shaves her head and has
Why is
sex
she
with
saying it
Marilyn
now?
Manson.
Why is she saying it now? That's what I don't know.
All these women are liars. They're all liars. I'm number one. I didn't even apologize to my
league.
wife.
Yeah,
By the way, speaking of the big league, and
Yeah.
did you guys watch the debates?
I did.
Everybody's like big league, big league. I was like, he's clearly saying big league. It didn't sound like.
People were saying he said bigly.
Yeah.
No, he definitely said
It
big
was
league.
very obviously
Like big league
like
chew.
big league chew. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people were making such a.
People are dumb.
There's
It's the
so
same people
much
who are
more
like
to,
Ken Bone. His last name is Bone.
there's so much more to harp on in that debate than
Yeah, right, exactly.
literally anything else.
I mean, it was weird. Like, he would just throw out big league off to the side, which is not really a thing people do.
Oh well, he's been saying big league
but
forever.
he does that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right.
Speaking of Ken Bone, Skeet Ulrich is in this movie.
Yeah, he is.
Hollywood's Ken Bone.
Skeet Ulrich, I feel like he was in something actually recently. Like, maybe there was an Ulrich-assance happening?
Well, he
A
was
Skeet
really
Assance?
he was getting taken very seriously, and he was great in Jericho, but that was also 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I feel like I saw him in something recently. He does not look so good now. He's 46 years old.
Well, that'll explain it. We're not going to look too great at 46 either.
Oh, come on.
No,
That bone structure you got over there?
that's all I'll have. It's just my it's just the bone structure.
I guess I'm wrong because I don't see anything recent that
Chill
he's, like,
Factor
kind of
2,
it.
still chilling.
That was it. It was Chill Factor 2, still chilling. Let's talk about Skeet Ulrich. He was kind of like a 90s it guy for a little while after this movie.
Yeah, he was in the
he
Newton
was in
Boys.
Chill Factor. He was in Newton Boys.
He got a bad rap just because he vaguely looked like Johnny Depp at the time.
Yeah, I think they were kind of lumped together a little while,
Which is a
like a
shame.
poor man's Johnny Depp.
That's what he was getting. Yeah, you never want to be the poor man's anybody. You always want to be the guy
Yeah.
that's being compared to. You want to be the Johnny Depp in that situation.
Yeah, and then he kind of just went away, fizzled out for a little while.
He's great on Jericho. That was a great show.
Jericho was a
Canceled
good show.
before its time.
Definitely.
I got really
think there's
excited.
Still Jericho comics, actually.
That
Continuing
would be
the
interesting.
storyline. So.
That would be a great comic. I saw a show yesterday, in fact, like a British show called Jericho, and I got really excited. New show.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe the British are like, oh, that's a great
They're
idea. Let's
redoing the
reboot it.
concept?
Nah, it's like some period, like 1800s.
Some bullshit.
Yeah, some bullshit.
So yeah, he was also in the movie. Should we talk about Matthew Lillard at all?
Before we do, I'm looking at the screen poster on your
Yeah.
computer here.
Yeah.
It looks very reminiscent of. What is that making you think of, that screen poster? I'll just
Makes
say.
me
it.
think of Scream.
Silence of the
Psycho
Lambs.
a little bit. Oh, yeah.
It does.
I wonder if
It
that's
does look a little bit of
intentional,
Silence of the Lambs.
or if it's just like a thing, like a trope of the '90s. Like
It
now,
could have
how
just
all,
been 90s
all
trope.
movies posters now are just blue and orange.
Yep,
Blue eyes.
absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about Matthew Lillard.
Matthew
This was
Lillard.
also his. This movie jump started a lot of careers.
It definitely did, yeah. Matthew Lillard would get kicked around for a little while. He's in a little movie called Wing Commander. Everyone remembers that one, I'm sure.
I remember watching
Freddy
like
Prinze.
15 minutes of it, going, "So this is just Star Wars? Is this Star Wars ripoff?"
I never saw it, and I will never.
I used to play the video games with what's
Mark
his name?
Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Ah, very nice. You played it with Mark Hamill,
Yeah,
right?
we were
Like
buddies.
he was player 2.
Hey Harry,
We had
you
a
want to play
falling
some Wing Commander? By the way, I was in Star Wars.
I can do the Joker voice if you want. Yeah, I don't know what else. What was Matthew Lillard's like big movie? I remember he was in SLC.
Ski Punk.
SLC Punk.
Oh yeah, that was it.
Ski Punk.
Ski Punk. He played the Ski Punk and Ski
That's a
Punk.
very different movie.
Get out of here, you snowboarders! This is Ski Land.
I know that's not our topic, but I absolutely hated SLC Punk.
Oh, it's fine. I liked
They
it.
made a sequel just like last year.
Very
I
recently,
know,
yeah.
I know.
I think it's a very hyper specific movie. I think if you grew up in Salt Lake City, you would probably really appreciate it.
Well, I didn't, so I didn't. Yeah. What else was he was Shaggy in the
He was
live
Shaggy.
action Scooby Doo movies. Those were kind of his big thing. Was he in Hackers too? I think he was.
No, he was in
as well?
Slackers, wasn't he? No, I'm being serious.
He might have been in Slackers.
Is that what you're thinking of?
No, he was. I'm pretty sure he was in Hackers.
I think Big Pete was in Slackers. You're thinking of Big Pete.
You're thinking of Big
I'm
Pete.
thinking of Big Pete. I'm not. And Del Dude, right?
Del Dude?
Wasn't the Del Dude in?
Was it,
Oh,
did he break
I thought
into
that was someone's
acting?
name. Del Dude.
Del Dude.
Like Del Close, but a dude.
He played Brock Hudson and She's All That.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
I hope that was like a porn star. He's in Twin Peaks, the reboot.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, and Halt and Catch Fire, which is next on my list of shows to
He
watch.
seems to be voicing Shaggy in the new Scooby-Doo animated projects, which
for
I did
him.
not know.
Great.
He's on Bosch.
I've heard that show's good, actually, the new Scooby-Doo cartoon.
Is that the post-apocalyptic one you were talking about?
No, that's a comic. Not the show.
Oh, he's in the FX series The Bridge. He's doing a lot of cable
Yeah,
drama.
it seems like he's a more dramatic
Good for him.
actor. And also
Scooby-Doo.
still voicing Shaggy.
So he's got the Scooby-Doo money, and then he picks his projects.
Yeah,
Good for
it's
him.
not bad.
I like him.
He's
I
great.
like him
He's
too.
much funnier than Jamie Kennedy in the first movie.
Yeah, his shtick was kind of like crazy over the top for a while. And I feel like he's moved away from that, which is something I like.
He had a certain like chaos to him that really played well, as opposed to like Jamie Kennedy just being the obnoxious, annoying '90s guy.
Sure.
Whereas like Matthew Lillard almost was kind of like Mark Hamill's Joker, where he just he wasn't going he was going around killing people.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he was one of the killers.
He just had like this
spoilers for Scream.
He just had these like unpredictable ways of delivering lines
Sure.
and reacting. And
Yeah.
the favorite part of my of Scream. I think Scream 2 is my favorite movie just because I watched it more and I just have it more memorized. But Scream, my favorite part of Scream is that after he is revealed to be the killer, he just has so many great lines. And like at one point, Skeet Ulrich stabs him too deep, and he's just like groaning, and he's like blood is coming out of his mouth. And he's just like, my parents are gonna be so mad at me.
I'm
And
feeling woozy here.
and like he was, to me, he was, out of all the killers Scream has ever had, he was like the most I could identify with, because he was just like this. Like, he had like there was like a heart to him. It was like he was
crazy.
He
but
showed a vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a good movie, Scream. If you haven't seen it, I haven't seen it in a number of years, but I think it still holds up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So go out and see it.
I mean,
Great
we kinda-
Halloween movie.
We kind of spoiled the spoiled parts of it, but
We did.
it's not that important to the movie.
Right.
What's really important is the meta stuff. So, Jamie Kennedy basically is like, all right, basically, Neve Campbell is playing the final girl, which was a concept that was really starting to become more in the national consciousness because of this movie, or the pop culture consciousness. The idea of there's always one girl at the end who, after everybody else is killed off, she has like the third act, like 10 minutes standoff with the killer where she's running around.
Right.
From
Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. And Neve Campbell kind of embodies this role, and they put it on its head. It's like, you have to be a virgin. If you have sex, you die. And she has sex in the movie, and then it's like extra, salt in the wound that she actually had sex with the killer.
Right.
Who also killed her mother, I guess. And maybe even had sex with her mother.
I don't know if it logically works out that all of these killings were those two guys. I don't know.
Scream 3 shed some light on it without spoilers.
Man, I gotta see Scream 3.
Yeah.
We've talked about Scream 3 several times.
Scream 3
in the past
is
few
not
weeks.
like just a offshoot. It fits into the trilogy very well.
All right.
So she has, if you're a virgin, if you have sex, you die. They have that. They have the don't leave, don't say I'll be right back, otherwise you get killed. They have that. They have the whole, why do you run upstairs? They're watching the movie. They're watching Halloween. Why are you running upstairs? Run out of the house. And she literally like can't run. So she panics and she runs upstairs. And it was really fun watching those tropes be spelled out. Like the postmodern and meta stuff didn't exist until the 90s, for the most part. There's exceptions, because the 90s were the first time you had filmmakers old enough to have grown up on pop culture to be deconstructing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Spielberg wasn't deconstructing anything. He was just rehashing his favorite serials growing up from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And you can call
Like
it
Indiana Jones is definitely that,
You
but
can call it
much better.
deconstructing it, but he's not really deconstructing it. He's
Homage.
constructing it with a lot of money.
It's an homage,
The 90s filmmakers, the Kevin Williamsons and even Wes Craven, it was the first time people had grown up with these things and now knew them so well that they could play around in them.
Yeah, and like we said, New Nightmare Nightmare kind of did the meta thing first, but this did it better for sure.
And it might be the best it'll ever be done because it was so cool seeing something meta, whereas now our generation, we grew up on that,
right?
And we're doing meta on the meta, and at some point it just kind of becomes obnoxious and circle jerky.
Exactly.
So that it was the one time it could be done well.
One time I watched a Screen fan film that was on YouTube that these kids in Texas made.
That sounds amazing.
The reason the killer did it in the end was Scream 4 didn't do as well, so he wanted to kill people so that it would become back in the national consciousness so that they would make another Scream movie.
Oh, man.
It was really pretty good.
That's clever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a whole other level of meta, we'll say, for when Scream 2 pops up, but the whole movies within a movie that doesn't exist in Scream.
Yeah. Just thinking of meta horror movies, there's a great movie called Behind the Mask, Rise of Leslie Vernon, which is like a mockumentary type movie following around a serial killer who idolizes like Michael Myers and things like that, which you should check that out if you haven't. That's also a really good Halloween movie. But anyway, do we have anything else to say about Scream?
Well, we talked about the cast. It really was a breakout. It was like the breakout role
movie
for everybody. David Arquette that's what made him more well known.
That got him ready to rumble.
Nev Campbell,
for sure.
Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich. Pretty much, I don't even know if I guess Rose McGowan too. I feel like she had. Did she have House of Yes at that point? I feel like she would have probably been fine without Scream. Like she still would have gotten Charmed and stuff because Charmed I think is what really blew her up.
Well, she was in a bunch of like other horror movies. Wasn't she in like Urban Legend? And she was definitely in a movie called Jawbreaker. I feel like after
Jawbreaker
Scream
was her big role, I think.
Yeah, I feel like she became the final girl in a few like Scream offshoot
so let's say
movies.
Courtney Cox, Fonz, and Rose McGowan. Besides those three, and I guess Drew Barrymore, although it helped Drew Barrymore's second coming, it really did.
Well, do you think Scream launched Courtney Cox? I mean, she was already on Friends at this point. Oh, I see. You're excluding them.
No. She, if anything, she helped raise the bar.
Yeah.
And it's one of the very few Friends movies to do well. None of them have really had too much success in.
That's true.
cinema.
I mean, Jennifer Aniston has had some successes.
She's made some money. She certainly hasn't. There's no well-regarded movies. She's Office Space, but she's kind of a non-factor in that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, it's interesting.
It is interesting.
There's more to talk about Scream. I think we'll save it for Scream 2.
All right. Okay, so that was a great topic.
Harry.
Thank you, Harry.
Thanks, guys.
I was a little worried that Harry was going to bring in some bullshit topic like Scream 2 or something.
He's like, guys, I got something. It's October. I thought this would be the perfect time. The harvest.
Gourds.
Remember in the 90s when they all used to harvest gourds? Those were the
do you
days.
eat gourds? What do you do with gourds?
Gourds is like a type
I know.
thing.
But
a pumpkin is a
what
gourd.
you picture with gourds is not pumpkins. You picture the other kind.
You picture like the little gourds.
Yeah, like the little green with they have lumps on them.
Yeah, a lumpy gourd.
Yeah.
Gross.
You don't eat those, I don't think.
What do you do with them?
They're just decorative.
Witch's face.
Like, what do you decorate with them?
You decorate them.
Like, you just put them around?
You paint little faces on them and you put them on
But
your
who
stoop.
does that? You just do that with the pumpkins.
Sometimes you want a little pumpkin.
So you get a little pumpkin.
No, you get a gourd.
I don't know. I feel like gourds kind of, we don't need them.
We could just keep talking about gourds if that's what you want to do for the rest of these 18 minutes, but we can also do a new topic. I don't know.
If the topic is Bush, then we might have to do a Bush v. Gourd debate.
Oh, no. I'm definitely getting a new topic now. All right.
Topic's Bush.
From Mr. Dan Dennis, frequent listener,
who just
and
recently
submitter.
commented. He said he was surprised that Dan from Soul had so many topics.
Because he thought he put a bunch in.
Well,
so
there you go, Dan.
A lot of Dan submitting topics. His topic, MTV Unplugged.
Oh.
Now, this is when MTV went unplugged.
And you can't watch it because
the TV wasn't in.
Talk about the musical series.
So yeah, it was a series on MTV called Unplugged where they would get popular recording artists to do acoustic sets. And probably the most famous would be Nirvana, who did a very, very famous, it was a phenomenal album.
Maybe most famous for people like us who prefer grunge music over other. There's a lot of iconic.
Sure, I mean,
Unplugged.
Eric Clapton Unplugged was also a really big one. I remember listening to
Alice in
that in the
Chains.
car a lot. I love the Alice in Chains Unplugged album.
The first one I think of, maybe even more than Nirvana, is LL Cool J.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you think of LL Cool J before Nirvana?
Because it was such an iconic thing seeing a rapper with an acoustic band. Yeah, it was like not groundbreaking, but it was really like
I could see that.
Original cool scene. I remember I watched a special about it that they made.
Yeah.
And LL Cool J is explaining they didn't know what the fuck they were gonna do. They had this orchestra, this small piece band because it's not a big stage.
Yeah.
And they're like, how are we gonna have him how are you guys going to do like the record scratches and the loops and stuff like that?
Right.
And he just like started like riffing with them, and he's like, holy shit, this is awesome. And like everybody was just in tune, and so like you have like the violin players like just kind of doing a loop on the notes. And I wish I knew how to DJ and talk music, because I don't know the terminology here, but it was a really fascinating thing. I think he was doing Mama Said Knock You Out.
Definitely, and it was pretty cool idea, MTV Unplugged.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just said, it led to a lot of things. You almost certainly heard the some Nirvana songs. They're all really big hits. They're Unplugged covers.
The Unplugged singles, some of them were hits in their own right. Like they did a lot of
World, Lake of Fire.
Yeah, they did the Lake of Fire cover that you only hear. They don't think they ever recorded Lake of Fire.
No, they didn't.
Maybe
and
even Man Who Sold the World. I don't think they did that cover on any album.
No,
either.
they didn't. It was just the Unplugged covers, and those were radio hits, radio singles. Remember when the radio was out and they were singles?
Different
and that
time.
Was the thing?
It was a different time.
It was a different time.
And did they also?
It was the 90s.
Am I thinking of Storytellers? Did they also tell stories in between tracks?
That was different. That was, I think VH1 had a show called Storytellers that was sort of like this.
Where they would tell how the song got written.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So the Unplugged never did this? This was pretty much a straight...
I don't think so. I think Unplugged was just a performance show of a band playing...
Because I know, when I listen to Unplugged albums, like I listen to Eric Clapton a lot.
Yeah,
they're always awkward to listen to because usually there's like 60 seconds at the end of every track where the band is getting ready for the next song.
Right, for the next one.
That's why I thought it was like Storytellers, but I don't think they're telling stories. I think he's just kind of stalling.
Yeah, and the famous one from the Eric Clapton album was Layla. He did Layla Unplugged acoustic version,
which is so good,
and it's fantastic. Yeah, I mean it's everyone knows like, but do you know?
It's funny because the same song by the same guy is so iconic, has such an iconic sound, two completely different ways.
Totally different. It's like completely changes the song.
The only one other I can think of is Times Like These by the Foo Fighters. Two great songs in their own, where they're two completely different singles,
right?
And two great songs in their own right.
Definitely.
I want to play this clip. This is cool. Mama Said Knock You Out, LL Cool J. So he's got basically acoustic guitar players. He's got drummers. I think the concept of Unplugged, I don't think he's allowed anybody with a turntable, right? It has to be all non-electric. Mm-hmm. Is that the rule?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, what do we got?
So this is LL Cool J doing Mama Said Knock You Out with a live
so they have
backing
horns,
band.
I think. That's key. They got
a horn.
Piano player.
Yeah, like not a keyboard, an actual piano. We got acoustic guitars.
There's no way I could cue this up live, but if we could find the spot where they do the loop, you should just watch this video.
I do remember this now that you're saying it, but
yeah.
When I think
it's fucking ripped.
Yeah, I think he still probably is. I mean,
ladies love him.
He's in the NCIS now.
Yeah.
And ladies do love Cool James.
I've talked about in depth on this podcast my LL Cool J theory about how he always gets very injured but survives every movie he's in. I haven't talked about this.
I think you may have
talked about this.
Did he live through Deep Blue Sea? I don't remember.
Yeah, he gets bitten by the shark and carried around by the shark.
Right, and he comes back.
Yeah, he comes back.
Well, good for him.
He gets shot in toys. He gets stabbed in H2O. He gets shot in Mindhunters. There's a couple other ones too. Yeah, he always comes out at the end. He's just like, comes at the very last scene. He's like, I'm still alive. I made it.
Yeah. All right.
You have it paused here, and you can see the hat he's wearing does really look like a shark's fin.
It's true. Very, very
That's
true.
where they got the idea for Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, someone was watching LL Cool J's Unplugged performance, and they're like, a shark? That's smart. And we'll get this guy to be in it.
Yeah, great concept, great idea.
Yeah,
I think they brought it back at some point, right?
I think they did too, and just about everyone you could think of did one of these. Like if you were popular in the 80s and 90s, you did an Unplugged set, and most of them were released as albums on their own. Mm-hmm. You're right, they did bring it back in 2010.
But then what are you going to do in 2000? Who's going to do it? Fucking Fallout Boy? Fallout Boy Unplugged.
You got 30 Seconds to Mars did one.
Yeah, see, I don't give a shit about 30 Seconds to Mars.
Lil Wayne did one.
That could be interesting.
The Scorpions.
Wow.
They don't fit in with the rest of these. But
from the 80s?
Yeah, like the German metal band, the Scorpions.
Rock You Like a Hurricane?
Yeah, those are the ones. Miley Cyrus.
So did they do like really slow, sad acoustic covers like Alice in Chains? Here I am, rock you like a hurricane. How are you gonna? There's the harmony.
That's pretty good, guys. Yeah. I think we could do our own Unplugged album. We'll do an a cappella, all hurricane cover.
Let's do real quick. Let's do acoustic unplugged. Europe's The Final Countdown. It's the final countdown. One more? Some. Can I get a request? 80s.
Oh my God!
Arena Jam.
I'm totally blanking on every song that came out in the 80s.
Something by Boston.
More Than a Feeling.
More than a feeling. More than a feeling. Less than a other feeling. Less than another feeling.
That went much better than I thought it would.
It's better when I know the lyrics, which are very few songs I know.
Oh my God! All right, I don't know what else we could really say about MTV Unplugged. It was great. It was a great concept. They brought it back.
They should do a show. They should do a show called MTV Plugged. Just ride off the popularity of Unplugged.
You get folk musicians and have them go electric for the first time, just like Bob Dylan.
Don't have Dylan do it.
Man,
he's gonna get a Nobel Prize.
And no one wants that. Not even Bob Dylan. It won Peabody Award and also 3 Primetime Emmys. The series MTV Unplugged. So there you go.
Wow, it deserves it. It was a great idea.
Yeah. Should we move on? We have just under 11 minutes. I think we could squeeze in another topic.
Yeah, just on top of the idea of it being a great idea. Also, I wish MTV was like that, where they were coming up with original TV series that are still really rooted in music, as opposed to Scream. And I have no problem with it being its own network for a generation.
Right.
I'm not like, oh, dude, they should play more music videos on MTV. But it would be great if there were more music shows. Like,
bringing them back.
I feel like they're trying to do that.
There was a channel, I don't remember what channel it was. It wasn't on MTV, but it had Elvis Costello had a music-based talk show.
Sundance TV.
And that only lasted for 2 seasons, but that was a great show.
Or no, maybe it wasn't Iconoclast, but yeah, he definitely had a show.
It was basically storytellers meets late night talk show. So
right,
it was storytellers,
Spectacle, that's what
Spectacle,
it was called.
yeah, because he has spectacles on his face.
Yes, right.
And he would interview the bands, and they would play a song, and it was basically storytellers, but with him hosting and guiding them, which is arguably better. And Elvis Costello is just a great presence.
Right, and I mean, I'm sure Elvis Costello has stories for days.
I wish there were more music-oriented television in that vein.
Yeah, and I do think MTV is kind of bouncing back towards that.
In between
the new
Teen
show
Wolf
called
and Scream.
Wonderland, that's supposed to be it's like live performances every week.
What's the gimmick?
I don't know exactly.
It's in Wonderland.
Yeah, it takes place in a magical Wonderland.
You have that walking pencil sharpener from the. That's the instruments.
Oh boy,
card-based costumes and stuff.
Nice, I love it.
There's the theme song, an acoustic unplugged version of "We're Painting the Roses Red." We're painting the roses red. We're painting the roses red.
Paint 'em red.
Off with our heads or something in there. We're painting the roses red.
Hey. Yeah, I feel like MTV didn't do so well because they tried to do a lot of original series for youngsters. Mm-hmm. Your Teen Wolves and what have you, and they were okay, but I feel like they realized.
Right?
Well, haven't they brought back like 120 minutes or something? Like they've been bringing back a lot of older things.
But what you're talking about, the MTV reclaiming its musicness, that was 10 years ago.
No, I feel like recently they've done.
No, now they're reverting back into making more original programming, like Awkward and Teen Wolf, and
that's 10 years ago. Now they're back to this.
So this is the third time they've come back.
Look, when Unplugged was on, MTV was going into for the first time like original series like Beavis and Butthead and things like The State.
Oh yeah, Unplugged, yeah,
like early 90s, like 92, 93 ish.
That was the beginning of the end.
No, those are the halcyon days of MTV.
I mean, that was the beginning of people saying...
The singled out era.
The singled out era, the Beavis and Butthead era, was the beginning of people grumbling, oh, they should just play music videos.
Well,
that was the beginning of that.
Beavis and Butthead, at the very least, music was a big piece of the
But
series,
that was the beginning of it not being just 24 hours music, which I'm not saying it should be. I said it should have more shows like Unplugged.
Jack, I think you feel like it should be 24 hours of music, which is unfeasible.
I remember watching
with the internet.
MTV 20th birthday special hosted by Carson Daly.
Okay.
MTV loved its introspective...
MTV loved Carson Daly for some reason.
That too, but it also loved doing recaps of... There was always shows like the best of the MTV Movie Awards, and they loved doing the talking heads of old VJs, and they really were like circle. And to think about it, the fact that they were only they were treating it like it was this big amazing thing, it was only around for 20 years at the time. That was almost 20 years ago. How scary is that?
Yeah.
That was like 35 years ago at this
Oh,
point.
boy.
Do you remember that special where like Vanilla Ice went crazy?
Yes.
Yes, that was on Jon Stewart's show, I think, right? Wasn't
No,
it?
he was
The
he was,
dun 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 dun
he
dun
was
thing?
hosting.
No. He like smashed up a set. Is
Yeah,
that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
he was like
yeah.
hosting like a worst video. They were retiring videos, like the worst
Yeah,
videos
yeah,
countdown.
yeah. Yes.
Like Janine Garofalo was there,
Yes.
and then Vanilla Ice, like they had him on, and he was like, "Oh yeah, retire this," and like hit. Like,
Right. I believe this was during the era where he was doing Too Cold and he was like a hardcore rapper,
Yeah.
was his like gimmick, like
Yeah.
rap metal.
I smashed the stage up.
Exactly. So yeah, I believe, I could be wrong, and maybe they've lifted it. I believe they banned him from MTV for life
Yeah.
because of that.
He hasn't been back since. I'm sure they could take back that
I don't know,
ban.
maybe they're showing reruns of his house show.
Again, saying something for life is so like when they were like, "We've been on forever. We've been on for 20 years."
Yeah.
And now that was 15 years ago, now they're probably like,
Yeah.
life, whatever. It's just we're all getting old.
We're all gonna die, so you're banned for life.
Pretty much everybody who worked at MTV at the time is probably retired.
fired.
Possibly. All right, now we only have 6 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. Do we still want to try and bang
I
out
wanna
a
do
lightning round
another
clip?
one.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
all right. Harry says yes, so let's do it.
Available on iTunes.
Fuck. It's from Daniel and Soul, so thanks again, Daniel. The topic is Batman the Animated Series. We cannot do this topic justice in just 6 minutes, but we can talk about it and keep it in the hot topic generator if that's what we want to do.
Up to Harry, unless you want to do a skip.
Yeah, come back to it, guys. I don't.
All right.
I don't want to waste it.
So we'll save that one, and we will come back to a new one, which is even more broad.
Justice League, the animated series.
Super Nintendo.
Oh my goodness.
We can talk real quick about Super Nintendo.
We can always too. When we first conceived the show, when we've never done it yet in 40 episodes, we could always just continue next week.
We could. This topic, by the way, is from Bryn Juranic. So I hope I'm saying
thank
that
you.
right. Let's just talk
You know
about
what?
Super Nintendo.
Let's since we don't have that much time to talk about Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Let's
just have Harry talk about Super Nintendo.
Or I was gonna say let's tweak it and let's talk about Nintendo Switch, the
Okay.
Super Nintendo
the
of
new-
2016. So
2017.
2017,
Yeah,
right?
I watched the promo
So,
video or
let's say
whatever
what it
was.
is first.
Yeah, so it's Nintendo's new system, which it's the controller. You can pop it out and be sitting at your TV playing, and then you can switch into a tablet and take the game with you
Yeah.
on the go without even like stopping.
Yeah. And it's not their next console. It's not in the line of Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii U. It's not.
it's not?
It's not. No, and it's not a follow up to their portables. It's not Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo
Right.
3DS. They're literally saying it's a third medium for video games. It's
It's not. It's just they're combining portables.
they're
and
taking the
in-home
worst from
consoles.
both worlds,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
It looks completely underwhelming. I'm a big Nintendo nerd.
You know, it
I
seems
have no interest
interesting.
in it. But I
but-
have to because the new Zelda game is going to be on it and probably not on Wii U.
I mean, I don't really.
Probably on
Well, Harry, what do you think about the Switch?
I think it looks fun. I don't know. There's a shot of somebody like playing Skyrim on a plane. That looks
Yeah.
great. I'd love to play Skyrim on a plane.
See,
It does seem cool to bring the console game experience with you wherever you are.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm certainly underwhelmed and I don't give a shit. But I guess I'm the wrong audience because I don't like playing portable video games anymore. I never.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
I never had a DS. I pretty much stopped at Sega Game Gear. I had a Game Boy and a Game Gear.
I had a
I
DS.
don't like it because honestly, the time I have to play, the only time basically the portables for people like us are when you're commuting.
Sure.
That's the time I get most of my reading and podcasting done.
Yeah.
And if I start playing video games in that time,
Right.
I actually, when I first got my iPhone last year, I did start playing a lot of like XCOM and
Apps
stuff on
and
my
things,
phone.
yeah.
And I was like, this is like less rewarding than reading or listening to something on the train.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I don't really play video games at all anymore, so
Yeah,
I'm definitely not
that's
getting
the problem.
a Switch.
Yeah, it's like I play an hour of my console a month at this point, and I appreciate that hour.
I mean, we're working full-time jobs. We're doing podcasts, at least all the three of us.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of free time, so we
Yeah.
kind of have to be stingy with it. And playing a game is not
But-
appealing to me.
I have so much free time.
But even if I am gaming, so
Yeah.
I don't own a Wii U yet. I own a Wii.
Now you said yet.
Yeah, so
You're planning on getting a Wii U?
So I was waiting for them to announce the Switch to go. Maybe I should skip the Wii U and get the Switch. Go to the next
Right.
gen. And basically, I've been waiting for the price to drop. I always wanted to get a Wii. I like getting new consoles. This is the first time I didn't get them all.
But now
Like
the
that-
Wii U is kind of old, and it was not
Yeah.
even that great when it came out.
But there's got games I really want to play on it. It's got Mario
it has
Kart 8,
Smash
It's got
Brothers.
Smash Brothers. It's got some Mario games, and now so I'm basically waiting for I wait for the price to drop so I can
Yeah.
get them, and that hasn't happened this generation with any of them because now they're just kind of coming out with these 0.5s and 0.75s.
Right.
So I don't own any of the next generation yet, which is compared to the last generation. I bought the PS3, the Xbox 360 and the Wii, pretty much at launch. The fact that it says something about the Switch that I've read the reports, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a Wii U now. I'm going to wait for the Wii U to become obsolete.
Yeah.
Buy it because the Switch isn't even backwards compatible.
Right.
So
I don't even know if it's discs. It might just be all downloaded.
I think it's cartridges.
Oh,
they're bringing cartridges back. Yeah. But I really want to play the new Zelda game. So do I have to get a Switch?
I think it'll be out on Wii U. They announced it for Wii U.
I really hate that these.
Well, it seems weird that they're in this weird limbo where they're going to have two competing systems.
Three.
Like
Wii U,
DS.
3DS, or 2DS.
The DS is kind of different from the Wii, and then this Switch is like a weird hybrid of both of them. But
So
if
it's
it's not
competing with
compatible
both.
with either of
No,
them,
yeah.
it's this weird third thing.
Yeah, and it boggles my mind. You would think. We talk on our Simpsons podcast about the doomsday process, rewriting a screenplay until you work out all the kinks.
Right.
You would think somebody would have worked out, you would assume they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
We're missing something, but
I think a lot of people are going to switch to Sony PlayStation.
Wow.
I don't know. They're
I was
desperate.
working on that for a while.
They want that. Look. The Wii was a surprise hit for them because for the first time ever, non-gamers were buying it. Grandmas were playing it.
Yeah.
And Wii U, they were hoping would be that to the next degree with the tablet, and it failed miserably and lost them millions and millions of dollars. So they were like, all right, let's bet big on this to make up for that. That's kind of like losing all your money on roulette and then betting it all again.
I think they should have brought back the Virtual Boy.
This would have been a perfect time for them to dial it back and do something more conservative. Just until they make back their Wii U money.
That little tiny PlayStation or Nintendo you can buy now. Have you
that
seen?
I'm excited about.
Yeah, that looks cool actually.
yeah.
But
Except it only has 30 games on it, and you can't buy any more ever.
right.
But I don't have time to play. 30 games is fine.
30 games is more than enough for me. I mean, Nintendo has this weird, they look backwards a lot and kind of how can we re-release Mario Brothers again just to make more money off
And
of
they
it?
keep blowing it. With the Wii U, we're like, all right, they'll fix everything that got wrong on the Wii with compared to Xbox Live and PlayStation Live. They had the online gaming botched, and they didn't fix it. They don't.
Yeah, no,
they're so stubborn.
Yeah, that's true. Well, because I feel like Sony and Microsoft are much bigger companies that they take
That's
into
very
account
true.
media and all this other stuff, and Nintendo's like, no, it's just
Nintendo's
games,
just
and
games,
you're going
yeah.
to do it the way we say.
Started out as a card game.
Or else you ain't playing no Zelda, Jackie boy.
Very interesting. That's our show.
That's it. That was fun.
We did it.
We don't
We
usually
did it.
talk about current events.
Yeah, yes, we do. We talk about future events.
Yes, you're right. We do talk about future events.
What did we learn, Harry?
Well, I think that we learned that Courtney Cox really elevated the process of the Scream movie being. So Courtney Cox's role in the Screamiverse is invaluable.
I think you're right. I learned that the Scream TV series is apparently pretty watchable and is
It depends on
make some jokes about the Scream franchise. I might watch it. I might check it out.
I'm certainly not going to watch it because I just don't have time. But Dan took what I learned about the Scream TV show.
Damn right.
What else did I learn?
Nothing.
That's nothing.
Nothing at all.
I know everything.
Nothing at all. You know that there is Batman the Animated Series is a topic in the random
That's
topic
what I
generator,
learned, yeah.
and we'll come back to it at a later date.
That's what I learned.
All right. So Harry, thank you so much for joining us on your third episode.
Thanks
Was
for having
this the best episode? We didn't make you do any horror video games.
No, I think this was good. I also want to just shout out the two brothers that are fans of yours.
Mario
I forget their
and
names.
Luigi.
They love me, and they're really excited.
That was
All
like
right.
6 months ago, Harry. You still
They moved on.
They're
They moved on
still
since
into it.
Now, if you check our Reddit, which you should, we have some fans of the show who are
R// first episode
particularly
ever.
very into Harry,
Have not crossed over to my podcast yet, but that's fine.
and they're right.
Well, speaking of your podcast, Harry, what is that? Well, how can I get such a podcast?
Well, if you just go to harrysays.yes.com, there's a bevy of options. Search it on iTunes or your favorite podcasting application.
All right, very good. And Twitter, you want to plug your Twitters?
Oh yeah, I'm very fun on Twitter. It's at HC Nelson.
All right, very
Tinder,
good.
Tinder. You want to plug your Tinder?
I'm currently in a relationship, but I am cheating, so find me on Tinder.
Your Ashley Madison
Delightful.
account. Where can we find you on Ashley Madison?
Oh,
at
boy, oh, boy.
Harry says. Yeah, Harry says yes. Obviously.
Oh yeah, he does. If you want to follow the show at Wii Studios Pod and also at 90s Percentile, personally, I'm at Dan Says.
I'm a Jackie No Breaks.
And if you like what we're doing here, you want to help support the show, go to WePodcast.com, click through our Amazon links, and then shop on Amazon like you normally would. If that's too many steps, it's a pain in the butt. You just go to Amazon.WePodcast.com. It'll take you right to Amazon. That helps us out too. And obviously, you can get more episodes at wepodcast.com, all the fun stuff that we're doing over there. And if you don't have any money, but you do want to support the show, all you got to do is go to iTunes, leave us a review, preferably 5 stars and no less, and write something.
It's got to be important. I listen to the Sam Harris podcast.
Yeah, Waking Up.
Waking Up, and he's a very opinionated, a polarizing figure.
Yeah.
And at the end of every podcast, he's like, please leave a review. It helps more than you think. So if Sam Harris is asking for reviews,
yeah.
What's scary is
he's
he
not
has
too proud to beg.
Millions of times more fans than we do, and he's just like, if 1% of you gave $1, I could retire and be rich. And I was like,
oh man,
I'm just thinking like, man, he's not making any money right now on podcasting.
Yeah, right. Guys, give us $100 each. We could be. No, it probably wouldn't help.
Up our Sundays.
It wouldn't help. All right, so go to 5-star reviews. This is a time in the show where we normally read one of our 5-star reviews,
but we only have international ones left, and they're such a bitch to find from a United States IP address.
We're gonna mix it up.
So we're not going to do that right now.
We're not going to do that. Harry,
yeah,
our guest here from the Harry Says Yes podcast, would you be so kind as to read a 5-star review of your podcast?
Sure. Why not?
This one's so fucking
called,
narcissistic.
This one's called Yes from the Midwest. Harry says yes. However, Harry also says other things. Listening to this podcast loaded with New York creatives has allowed me to understand how the internet works. Traveling audibly alongside Harry in his quest for friendship and purpose has made me examine my own existence as well as my relationships. The awkward pauses and unsureness of big city life blended with smoothly with subtle humor and effective joke-telling produces a show that is not only playfully cordial, but also unquestionably entertaining.
Wow.
This knee slapper of a podcast is a must-listen.
Wow, that's great.
That's a good review.
That's also extremely accurate of your podcast. So.
Oh, thanks so much.
I'm always slapping my knees every time.
Yeah, they look.
Every
you should stop
they're
them.
very red. It's a big problem. I think I have
great.
OCD, guys. All right, guys. So, yeah, I think that's it for this episode of 90s Percentile. Thanks again, Harry, for being here.
Thanks so much.
My name is Dan.
My name is Jack, and we'll see you in another decade.